This is called the clouds of humanity, and I just came up with this exactly in this introspective state that I was in. Okay, and this is a whole breakdown of all the reality as you know it. Okay, now watch this. The first cloud, which majority of human beings are on, right? Depending on where you are, look, connect to internet. Now they messing with my internet connection. But anyway, this is where majority of human beings are, is politics, bills, modern science, religion, entertainment, things that are all of that branch. They branch off. You get what I'm saying? The minute you get on social media, you hear them talking about politics, what's going on with Trump, what's going on with Biden, what's going on with the legislative branches, what's going on with Kamala Harris, what's going on, what are they doing behind the scenes, what's happening with the celebrities, what's going on with Ace Hood, what's going on with, you know what I'm saying, Meek Mill, what's going on with Drake, what's going on with Kendrick, all of these different names or power that they're able to pull from and extract so they can keep you in this cloud. The funny thing is, though, when you look up the etymology of these words, there always has to be a storm that comes from under these clouds, or in other words, a rain. The etymology of the word storm etymologically means convulsion. What does that mean? Convulsion means a violent convulsion, social or political upheaval, which just means a disruption, which just means that there are things that emanate, that come from this cloud. Once somebody ends up questioning this cloud, the only way that you can leave this cloud is if you truly, with all your heart, question everything that's on it. If not, then you could still be on this cloud. But let's keep going. So this is cloud 2. Cloud 2 is where what? You question all of these things, self-realizations, awareness. This is what you would know as the conscious community, or in other words, the woke community, as they call it. The cloud brings what would be called woke, but still is not the complete analysis of all of reality. Once you're woke, that's good, but you still have to get ready. For example, if you're working, you have to get up, set your alarm clock. The alarm clock will awaken you. You can sometimes just sit on top of your bed, at the side of your bed, and just sit there like, damn, I ain't trying to go. You got to go to work. You got to get it going. And I'm just using that as a reference to explain about how this is explained when it comes to consciousness or processes of human beings. So once you're out of that state, you're in cloud 3. Now I put, this is where you dive deep into yourself. You realize the world is false, and therefore finally see how that played on you yourself. So this is what I meant by working, or other words, what you would call working on your inner world, working on the traumas, working on the fears, working on the anxiety that was put in you from today's society. I'm going through this stage now, exactly. This is where you start to understand and uncover more about yourself. Once you uncover more about this reality, this is the reason why everybody's saying that everything's a distraction. First of all, you need to realize that people can even learn from the distractions what truly matters. Okay? Just because something's a distraction doesn't mean that you could also not learn about yourself from it. Do you hear what I mean? If I'm listening to a song where all this artist is talking about is killing women, I can learn from the fact, yo, this is the only part of reality these actually had access to or we ever touched. So that means then what are parts of me that I've experienced beyond that I could actually go inside and be like, y'all, way more than what he's even talking about. So this is the cloud 3. The stage can be difficult, very, causing to find the flaws in you, things that may have not been healthy for you on this journey. And okay, watch this. This is exactly what I'm talking about with what will be known as a spiritual community, or even, you know what I'm saying, certain religious sectors, or even people that are atheists, people that, anybody that has questioned this and has came to a certain reality, they end up believing that they have beat all that is to the game.
Oh, the earth is flat, so now we woke into the point where we don't need to do anything anymore. Oh, we got crystals and sage and meditate now, so that means that you can't tell us nothing.
That builds an ego emanating, and you're still stuck in the cloud. So this is the reason why I'm saying that people don't ever reach cloud 3. If you did, congratulations. Where you start to reflect and look at yourself as not only that could have been a force of a problem, but now you look as yourself as a solution for all of this reality or this existence. You have to go through this cloud 3 though. This is where you're like, damn, like all of the traumas hit me, all of the pain that I went through, all of the experiences. This is way deep than any of discovering that you could have had, but there's a reason why it's structured this way, because it's supposed to be like that on this journey, right? So look, once you finally get past cloud 3, then there's the question, what are all of these clouds hiding? Has anybody ever thought of that question? Why are all these clouds built up? Well, for example, let's just use a synopsis of all reality. When you start looking up in the clouds, right? Exactly. What are they hiding? They're hiding the abode of what will be known as the celestial gateway, or in other words, heaven. But like I said, some people believe that heaven doesn't exist, or that the celestial world doesn't exist because of the fact that they could have been making this up and space isn't real. Listen, this is the reason why I'm saying that they did this shit on purpose, intentionally, to keep everybody arguing about whether some damn space or not exists, or the earth is flat, and we all on something with we all here. Regardless of whatever you ascribe to or you believe, we're here for some weird reason. That's the point that they don't want you to know about. So, what did I write here? Why were all these clouds brought forth? It's to what? To distort the image of what truly matters. And that's the celestial gateways. Or what you would know as space, or the universe, or the stars, or the supernovas. All of the things that we don't really ever talk about because of the simple fact that, well, we haven't reached that level. We're still dealing with the clouds. Our mind is clouded. You ever heard that? But cloud 9 means what? You're above and beyond all of these things. Now you're able to have that connection with what will be known as what the clouds are hiding. And now you're reaching certain levels that people aren't able to reach. So you can be able to talk and explain to people that are even stuck on cloud 1 what this is all about, because people end up doubting, or not doubting, but they down themselves for being at cloud 1. You're not supposed to beat yourself down for being a sheep or being a bot. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to look at that as a means to be able to reach and explode and communicate with others that may be going through this cloud at this exact moment. It wasn't supposed to be egotistical and be like, oh yeah, now I'm above all of you people. That's what happens. So when you let that cloud, then it becomes a storm that you can't reach anybody else of, that you can't reach anybody off of. This is all the reality that we're talking about in this exact moment. So once you reach this level, that cloud 3, you've done a lot of work. You're starting to work on yourself. You're starting to get something together, develop yourself. Because once you realize that you're the problem, then you start finding solutions. You start going to the gym. You start meditating. You start praying. You start, you know what I'm saying, focusing on gratitude. You start looking up things. You even may be in debates, and sometimes you may say that you don't know just because you don't know. You ever met somebody that's in a debate and they have to keep explaining something they know ain't true just because of the fact that it's holding on to their ego and they don't want to be wrong? That's the cloud 2 that they're still stuck on. And there may be some times where somebody could end up reverting back to cloud 3 all the way back to cloud 1. You don't beat yourself down for that. You just know where you're at, so you can rise up all the way to cloud 9. But you see how it looks like it's a descension process? It's not a descension process. It's flipped around. It's actually you reaching a higher level. But in order to reach a higher level, you must reach the lower level of yourself. Damn, that's deep. Woo! Do you see what I mean? Come on now.
I just had this talk earlier, and these are talks me and my uncle be having.
Does anyone else feel like you're too aware of how fake society is to participate in it properly? You know that all the months are just made up by someone. All the religions are just made up. All of the street names are made up. The money's fake. The jobs are mostly fake. The government is fake. It doesn't actually serve the people. Everything is just bullshit, and you can see through all of it. And it's just too hard to participate in a full heart way. You know, the saying ignorance is bliss is so true, because once you realize all of this whole matrix that's formed around you, you can't just walk around like everyone else.
But as you can see, look at these lips and you look at that nose. This is our ancestral land. This is our ancestral land. Don't listen to the naysayers and the ones who have a colonialized mindset that tell you that you are a freaking color. You are not black African American. The black African American people, did they build this? Absolutely not. This was here before Columbus, okay? Before Columbus. Way before Columbus. After that mercenary stepped foot on our land, we morphed into Negro, colored, black, African American, and I don't know, give it a couple of years, it'll be something else. And the sweet people will accept those type of titles. But you must remember that if you don't claim your heritage, somebody else will. Look at all these things.
Look at Thomas lips. Look at Thomas lips. I don't know the reason, but watch my lips, watch my nose. You know? Just look at it. This reminds me of my grandfather. Maybe this guy is my grandfather. You know? And I don't know the reason. Just like you. Born and raised here. Indigenous. What's his nose? What's my nose? What's my nose? You know? Look like that one. What about you?
I hope that clip can stay in.
I have everything I need. I have everything I need to proceed and succeed. I have everything I need. I have everything I need. I have everything I need, yeah, to proceed and succeed. I have everything I need. I have everything I need. I have everything I need to proceed and succeed. Yeah. I have everything I need. I have everything I need.
Well, since certain labels don't give us certain music, and some people like to say music is demonic or it ain't good, argue to that. There you go. Got your frequency in, and you got you something catchy that's gonna play in your head that's positive, not something that's negative. I'm just flipping the script. I'm just showing how the music is like really can heal if it's used correctly. Shout out to India Irie, man. I think Trey Space been sending me some of these clips that's been thrown in here. Shout out to Trey Space, man.
White people have always been at war with nature, and history proves it. For thousands of years, civilizations across the world have lived in harmony with their environments, building societies that worked with the land rather than against it. But white European societies took a different approach. They declared war on nature itself. From deforestation to factory farming, from climate disasters to outright destruction of entire ecosystems, white societies have never treated the natural world as something to be preserved or respected, only as something to be conquered, extracted, and controlled. White people saw nature as an obstacle, not a home. Early European settlements were built on environmental destruction, while indigenous societies in Africa, Asia, and the Americas built homes, farms, and cities in ways that worked with their environments. White Europeans raised forests, overhunted, and exhausted lands at unsustainable rates. White settlers in North America and Australia saw nature as something hostile that needed to be tamed, a mentality that led to rapid deforestation, soil depletion, and near extinction of countless species. Unlike African, Asian, and indigenous cultural techniques, which prioritized soil health, water preservation, and biodiversity, white European farming was built around short-term exploitation, leading to repeated environmental collapses. The climate was white people's first enemy. European history is filled with climate-related crises, from the Little Ice Age to mass famines. But instead of adapting, Europeans treated nature as something to be fought against. In contrast, many African and Asian civilizations built entire agricultural and irrigation systems to withstand droughts and floods, while white European societies barely survived their own winters. The entire colonization of the Americas was justified through environmental destruction. The land was only seen as valuable if it could be stripped down, fenced off, and turned into profit. White people did not master nature. They fought it, and in the process made their own environments worse. The Industrial Revolution was just organized environmental warfare. Europeans burned through forests, poisoned rivers, and polluted air at paces that no civilization had ever come close to before. Unlike African and Asian metallurgical techniques which often integrated sustainable resource management, white Europeans tore through resources without a second thought, leading to mass deforestation and ecological collapse. White-run factories pumped so much pollution into the air that by the 19th century, entire cities were unlivable. European capitalism saw nature as something to be bought, sold, and destroyed for profit, a total inversion of the way many non-European societies treated the land. The demand for industrialized agriculture led to monocropping, soil erosion, and mass extinction of entire plant and animal species. Instead of recognizing environmental limits, white industrialists kept expanding, leading directly to today's climate crisis. White civilization did not progress, it just burned through resources faster than anyone else. White people broke the planet, then pretended to save it. The same white societies that led deforestation, pollution, and species extinction now act like they're the ones saving the planet. Western conservation efforts often ignore indigenous knowledge, favoring white-led environmental movements that focus more on guilt than real solutions. Instead of restoring the ecosystems that they've destroyed, white environmentalists push for solutions that maintain control, like carbon taxes that don't stop destruction. They just price it differently. Indigenous land management techniques like controlled burns, rotational grazing, and agroforestry were ignored by white scientists for centuries, despite their success. Traditional African and Asian water conservation methods kept entire civilizations thriving through harsh climates, while European-style industrial farming drained aquifers and poisoned rivers. White conservationism often prioritizes saving landscapes for aesthetics rather than for the survival of ecosystems or people. White environmentalism isn't about saving the earth. It's about managing the damage that they've already caused. If white people were so advanced, why have they spent their entire history trying to survive against the planet instead of living with it?